The next stage of the project, we're going to be looking at curtain walls. A curtain wall is an exterior wall that is attached to the building structure, which does not carry the floor or roof loads of the building. So to get started with the curtain wall, we will go back into our build panel, and the curtain wall is within the wall tool itself. So we'll select the wall tool. We'll hit the type selector. We see the first heading there is our basic wall, which we've been using the internal and external walls from. If we scroll down, the next heading here is curtain wall. So we have three options. We have a curtain wall empty, curtain wall exterior glazing, and curtain wall storefront. So the curtain wall empty, it has no grids, it has no mullions. There are no rules associated with this type of wall. This wall type provides the most flexibility. With the curtain wall exterior glazing, this one has presets. So the grid rules can be changed if the settings are not suitable. Next down is the storefront. This also has presets. This curtain wall not only has presets, but it also has mullions attached to them. Again, the grid and the mullion rules can be changed if the settings are not suitable. So I'm going to select the curtain wall empty. You'll see here I've got my contextual tab, how I can draw the curtain wall itself. I've got my options bar again, just like placing a wall. So again, specifying the height, depth, what level I want it to be constrained to, my location, line, chain, offset, and so on. So I'm going to go to the front of the building, just click once to start, click again to place. That's my empty curtain wall. So if I hover over the curtain wall, I'm giving this H-type symbol. That in itself represents the actual curtain wall. Later on, we're going to be adding in mullions, glazing panels, doors, and so on. So if you ever wanted to click and drag the curtain wall somewhere else, that is the symbol you look for, because you can actually grab a mullion and pull it away from the curtain wall, leaving the actual curtain wall itself in the same position. So that's the symbol that we want to look for. So if I click that, I can drag it around. Well, once it's selected, you'll notice we got the grips. We have our temporary dimension where we can change the width. And we also have the permanent dimension. As well, we have the flipping arrows to flip it inside and out. So next I'm going to place the curtain wall exterior glazing. So I'm back into the wall tool, come down to the exterior glazing, and just place it the same. And as well, I'll place the storefront. Once I place, I'm going to go into my 3D view. So on the left, I've got my curtain wall empty. The middle is my curtain wall exterior glazing. And to the right is my curtain wall storefront. So again, each one same like the empty, they've got the same properties. Where in my plan view, if I select each one, again, we have the temporary dimensions, permanent dimension, flipping arrow. And if I want to move and drag again, it's the same properties. If I wanted to change the height, select it, as long as I have it unconstrained. So at the moment, my top constraint is first floor. So if I click on unconnected, I have my blue grip that I can just extend it up. Same as all three. So I notice the difference between the three. The empty is obviously empty. The exterior glazing has what we call line segments. I will equally space those segments as best as possible. And with the storefront, it has the segments as well. We can easily attach our mullions to it. And you'll see that they're all equally spaced as well. So to go into the exterior glazing, if I select the curtain wall itself, again, selecting the actual curtain wall, I'll get this representation around it. So I get that dashed blue line around it. Select it, come into my properties section here. If I scroll down, I'm able to change the vertical grid in itself. So it's justification, its angle, and its offset, as well as a horizontal grid. If I further go into the edit type, in here, there's again more parameters for me to change. So with the vertical grid, the layout itself, we can have it fixed distance, so we'll always equally space them all. We can also change it to a fixed number, maximum spacing, minimum spacing. The spacing itself, this is where we can adjust it, so we can change that to a meter, so it'll always be a meter between each one. Same with the horizontal grid. For the vertical mullions, horizontal mullions, we're able to change the actual profile of which one we put in, and there's some identity data that we can add in. So for example, I can select the storefront, come in and I can change the angle. So it's 45 degrees. So we can change the angle of the segments themselves. So that's the basis of the curtain wall. When we're creating our own curtain wall, which we will do on the empty section here, all we'll do is we'll place segment onto the curtain wall, which are these dashed blue lines. Once those dashed blue lines are placed onto the curtain wall, then it will divide that up into what are called panels, and each one of those panels we can change. So by default it'd be glazed. We can change if we do a solid panel, and as well as multiple family types in the library that we can change them too. So they can be a window, they can be a door, so on. And then once we've done the panels, then the last stage is to attach a mullion to that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the empty curtain wall, I'm going to attach a couple of segments to that, change a couple of panels within those segments, and then attach mullions to those segments. And then once I've shown you that, we're going to create 3 different tags for our building. First is we must select it. So I'm selecting the curtain wall empty. Again, I don't want to make any changes to this actual curtain wall empty, so we must create our own. And to do that, we'll click on Edit Type, Duplicate, and I'll just call it Curtain Wall Test. And press OK. So now there's now our curtain wall that we can do whatever we want to it. So first things first is we will attach our segments, which again are the dashed blue lines. To do that, we're in the Build panel, and then we have Curtain Grid. So select the curtain grid. So when I hover over the vertical side of the curtain wall, I'll get a horizontal segment. When I hover over the horizontal side of the curtain wall, I'll get a vertical segment. So again, we can just click to place. Just putting them in randomly for now. So look, there are segments. Again, with the segments, we can then select them. I'm going to use my arrow keys and I can shift them around. We can, of course, make them equally spaced, and we can do that using the aligned dimension tool as we've done before. If there's an area where I want 2 segments to join together, what I can do is I can select the segment I want to edit. When I do that, the contextual tab will appear with a curtain grid panel. So I'll select Add/Remove Segments, and then I just click, and you'll see that the 2 panels I've joined together. To bring it back, I'll just select the segment again, and then they're back to being 2 separate panels. I can run up the curtain wall to remove those sections of the segment. So once we're happy with our segments, the next stage is to adjust the panels themselves. So when we hover over, all we can do is select the segments. So in order to select the panels, I'll hover over a corner, hit the Tab key, and continue to hit the Tab key until the panel I want selected becomes selected. Click once on the mouse for it to become selected. Then you'll see in our type selector, it is saying System Panel Glazed. So we can change it up to solid if we want. And if we change over our visual style to realistic, we'll get a better view of what we're doing. So I can enter the visual controls here and just selected the realistic mode. And then the last stage then is to apply mullions to all of the segments. So in the Build panel, it's the last one there, which is mullion. We'll select that. We have 3 different ways we can apply mullions. We can do grid lines, so every segment that we click on will create a grid line. Or we can use the grid line segment, so just every little small segment section becomes a grid line. Or we can use the all grid lines. So I just highlight and it will select every single segment to then become a mullion. Okay, so that's the basics of the curtain wall. What we're going to do now is we're going to create curtain walls together. So what I'll do is I'll just select those and delete them. Go back to my ground floor plan. I can add to the front of the building. Just so, or it can be on the side, it's up to yourself. As long as you have a clean drawing space. When I go to our wall tool, we're going to select the curtain wall empty. And before we draw it, we're going to go to edit type, duplicate, and we're going to rename it to curtain wall entrance. Press OK. And then just place it. Okay, so for this curtain wall, these will be the dimensions of the curtain wall. So first off, the width is 6445. So we'll change the width of our curtain wall to 6445. Now that we've done the width, the next step will be to create a section view right in front of our curtain wall, so we get a nice clean elevation of the curtain wall. What I'll do is just reduce the depth of view so we don't see any of the building behind. Then double tap the beak just to open it up. And there's our curtain wall. So our height here is 6 meters, so 6,000. So what we'll do is we can select our curtain wall, come to the properties section, change our top constraint to unconnected. And we've got two options. We can change the unconnecting height here to 6,000. Or once we change our top constraint to unconnected, we can use the temporary dimension here. So our width is 6445. Our height is 6,000. So next we're going to add in our segments. So the first one we're going to do is add in the center one. So to do that, we'll go to our curtain grid, hover over the horizontal edge, and we'll get that vertical segment. And you'll notice my temporary dimensions are already equally spacing me either side. So I know that that segment is centered. So click once, place our first segment. Next we have either side by a meter. So we can go curtain grid, again, just placing them either side. And once they're placed, we'll then select it and change the temporary dimension. 1,000 either side. And the next vertical segments are equally spaced between the remainder. So again, when I hover over the horizontal section, I'm getting an equally spaced segment either side. So next, we're going to add in the 2200, up 500, up 300. Same again, 2200, up 500, up 300. So curtain grid, hover over the vertical side. First dim is 2200, up 500, up 300, and then again 2200, up 500. So we have up 2200, up 500, up 3, 2200, 500, 300. Lastly, then we'll just remove this inner segment here. So we'll select the segment. Once it's selected, then we get the add remove and select the area we want to remove. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a different panel in here. So in order to select the panel, hover over the edge, just clicking the tab key once at a time and just running through each one of the panels. Once a panel that we want to change becomes highlighted in blue, click once with the mouse to make the selection. So if we go to our properties palette there in the type selector, under system panel, we only have glazed and solid, but we want to import more from the library. So in order to do that, double escape, go to the insert tab at the top, then we'll go to load from family, and we'll select load family. So it's the same UK library we've been using from before. This time we'll go down to curtain wall panels. And there we have a couple of curtain wall panels. So there's an empty, glazed, multi-glazed, opaque, and so on. So what I want you to do is to select any one of those double doors. Again, it's not important which one. Or you could select the revolving door. It's up to yourself. So I'll use any one of the double doors. I'm going to select the first one. Press OK, and now it's in our project. So now we just have to select our panel. So again, I want to hover over that segment, selecting the tab key until the panel becomes highlighted. Left click with the mouse, and now it's selected. Go into the type selector, and there you can see is our glass double door. We'll select that. Again, don't click on the gray section here. That's just the heading. The actual component is just below it. So select, and now we have our panel changed. Then we go back to our architecture tab. And last, we're going to apply the mullions to all of our segments. So we'll select mullion. Again, we can do it individually if we wanted to, or we can go all grid lines. If you go to the type selector, you'll see the different types of mullions that we can select. Again, it's up to you if you want to choose something different, but I'm just going to stick with the 50 by 150. Again, if you wanted to use something else, that's okay. I'm going to use the all grid lines, select the segments, and that's it, we're done. So I'll go to our 3D view. And up there it is our curtain wall. So the last thing to do is to just insert it into the building. If you go to PDF 017 curtain walling, you'll see the position of the curtain wall itself. So I'm just going to delete the section view. So again, remembering when we want to move the curtain wall, you've got to look for that H symbol. Click, and that is the curtain wall itself. Then you can click and drag. So I'm going to place it in front of the wall. So if I now click and drag that onto the wall, the curtain wall will just disappear into the wall. Let's say that the highlighted wall is overlapping and so on. And if I go to my 3D view, we can't see the curtain wall because it's inside the wall. So there's one last step that we need to do to make sure that the curtain wall cuts out the wall itself. To do that, we'll select the curtain wall, go to Edit Type, and second one down there, automatically embed. So right now it's got no tick, it's not turned on. So if we tick that on, press OK, and now when we drop and drag it into the building, it'll automatically cut out the wall. To make the final adjustments, you can, again, make sure you're selecting the H symbol, use the arrow keys, you can shift it up and down, left and right. So the final position of the curtain wall isn't extremely important, so just get it roughly where you want it to be. You can use the arrow keys to shift it left and right, up and down, so on. The door itself is an active door, so if you click on it, we have our flipping arrows to flip the door inside and out. And we want to then copy this curtain wall from this position over to the other wall, as we have in the PDF. So again, selecting the curtain wall, using the copy tool, copy it out. And then selecting it again, using the rotate tool, and rotate it around. And again, click drag and drop. So the next curtain wall is to the rear here. So we'll start the same process over again. We'll go to our wall tool, curtain wall. We'll select empty. We'll then go to edit type, duplicate, rename it to curtain wall rear. Press OK. And just to save us in the future, we're going to go to automatically embed and turn that on now. Press OK. And then we can draw our curtain wall. So this here is the footprint of our curtain wall. And this one we actually have a curve. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our width and our height correct. So our width is 5223. So we'll select it, change our width to 5223. And then we'll place a section view in front of the curtain wall, flipping it around. Again, reducing the depth of view if it's in the building. Double tap the beak. And there we have our curtain wall. So the height is 6 meters. So we'll select our curtain wall. Come to our top constraint. Select unconnected. Change it to 6 meters. So to create this curve, as you'll see here, the lines are pink, and that is the footprint of the curtain wall. So we can select the curtain wall, go to Edit Profile, and I'm going to use my Fillet Arc tool with a radius of 4,000. So here's my Fillet Arc tool with a radius of 4,000. Green tick to finish. And then next, this is what we'll do again, same like before, adding in the segments, up 2200, 500, 300, up 2200, 500, 300. So for the center point there, so we get a meter on the side. So we'll go to our curtain grid. I will select our first segment, equally spaced, correct, and then a meter either side. And then up 2200, 500, 300, and so on. So up 2200. 500, 300. Up 2200. 500, 300. Next, we'll remove this inner segment here. So again, we'll just select the segment, add, remove, and select. And again, we're going to put in a double door here. So just select the panel. So hover over the segment, hitting the tab key. Once it's highlighted and selected, then go to our type selector, change it over to a double door. And finally, paste mullions. And use the all grid line and click. You're going to get some issue here. It's only because of the curve. It's not a problem. Just press escape. So last thing to do is to go back to our ground floor plan. We can select it, click and drag, and drop it into place. And there we have our curtain wall to the rear. So in this level here, you're up to see the slab behind the glazing. So what we can do is we can actually change that panel to a solid panel. So you can do that in the 3D view. And again, just so putting the cursor over the panel, selecting the tab key until the panel becomes highlighted, click with the mouse. We can change it over to solid. Same again, tab,